Hello everyone. Lately I've been asked to do some fall and Halloween things, so I wanted to start with my fall leaves. I have 5 different types of fall leaves, so this is going to be a long tutorial, just to warn you guys. I'm also going to do the vines. I'll start with the vines because you might want to do these types of leaves for the pumpkins that I'm going to be showing you very soon, or a different kind of leaf. So I'll start with this. Let me show you the vines. So basically my vines and my leaves are usually made with a tiny bit of Spanish olive to a lot of translucent. It's maybe 1/5 or 1/6 of the Spanish olive. So it's just a tiny bit, and then it's a lot of course, translucent. Now what I do for vines, and this is for my little pumpkins, so I wanted to show you this, and then we'll get into the leaves. I roll a tiny bit of my leaf color out. Then you can do this with your head pins, or you can do this with, like you can see, this is a sewing pin. Just make sure that the sewing pins you have, that the top of it, if it's plastic, it won't melt in your oven. But I just wrap it around like this. Like I said, you could do this with your head pins too. You could even do that with the double pointed needles, but those are usually a little bit thicker. So I bake them just like this, and then I slide them off. When they're done, this is what they look like. Here's a darker one. That just has a little bit more Spanish olive. I usually use the darker ones for the orange pumpkins and the really pale ones for the light pumpkins, and you just trim the length that you need for the pumpkin. Okay, so here we go. Basically I have 2 different colors here. This is plain translucent. I do 3 of the leaves with plain translucent. 2 of the different color leaves I use with the green. What I do is take a tiny bit of cornstarch. You could use cornstarch or flour. I like cornstarch better because it's not going to texture the clay. It's just going to keep it from being sticky. So I'm just trying to keep it from being sticky. I'll do that with both pieces of clay. Okay. Wipe off my hands here, and I don't want the cornstarch everywhere, so I get rid of that sheet of paper. As you know, I work on sheet of paper. I usually have several sheets stacked up, and that way, removing the top one, we'll leave a nice, clean, fresh sheet right underneath. I'm just dusting off a little bit more of the cornstarch. Okay, so what I do to create the leaves is I have a cutter. This is from Recollections. Let's see if we could get that. So that's how it is. It's a miniature hole puncher. It should be at scrapbooking shops. And I bought this like in a dollar bin at Michael's, and they bring them back usually around the holidays. It just came out. I'm just trying to make a few here. Oop, that one I didn't get all the way in there. Okay. And then I'm going to turn this upside down so you can see. So that's just how it works. If it doesn't fall out, you can use a pin to take it out. I'll show you that. So if it doesn't come out, I take a pin and I gently lift, and then I drop it. Okay. So now I'm going to show you how I shape my leaves. I'm going to put one in my finger here. So what I do, let me wait for this camera to catch up. So I take a pin and I just drag it along to create like a vein. And then I press lightly where the ends or the little indents meet, and then I let them meet the center, except for two. Here. It's fiddly when it's on my finger close to me. This is one of those things where the camera is between me and my clay piece, so it's a little bit awkward. Now here I just bring it to this one instead, and then there's one on the bottom, and I also bring that one to the line like that rather than to the very center. And then from here we shape the leaf. And you can also shape the leaf after we color it too. So I will be right back as soon as I shape all my leaves, so you don't have to see me put the veins in every single one. So the first leaf, we're starting with some sparkle gold, and I tap a tiny bit onto a paintbrush, and I'm adding the sparkle gold to random corners of the leaf. So I'm not covering the full thing, just the corners. And let's see, can you see that very well? So I have it on the outside edges. And this is the Sparkle Gold, and this is Pearl X. All of these powders that I'm using is Pearl X. And then I'm going to take a slightly smaller brush, and I'm going to dip it into Sunset Gold. And I'm adding some Sunset Gold, which is darker, to a couple areas. And then I'm also going to paint the stem in the Sunset Gold. If you have a thin enough brush or you dip it in water, you can even paint that into some of the creases and crevices of the leaf. And then to finish, I'm going to dust it very softly with a macro pearl, especially in the center. So there's that leaf. And I shape and cook my leaves. So there's one. There's one of the fall leaves. And the second one will have the, let's see, let me grab another paintbrush. Oh, fell off when I wasn't looking. So the other one will dip into the super bronze, and I will paint the super bronze like I did the original gold. So it's coating some of those outer edges. I'm going to take a smaller brush and dip it into the Super Copper. So Super Copper is also another Pearl X powder. It's a really pretty red, and it's nice and deep and rich. And then we're going to dust it with the sparkle gold. So with the sparkle gold, I dust in the center. And then if you covered up too much of any of the reds, you can go back over with those. So let me flip that over in my hand so you can see it better. And these, after you bake them, you actually want to glaze them, but I would glaze them after you decorate whatever you're decorating with them. Okay, this next one is going to be with a translucent. I'm going to dust this in a macro pearl first. So I'm just going to dust it. And I love that little macro pearl color. From here, I'm going to paint some of the sunset gold. Into some of the corners. And this is what I use for my vanilla cupcakes. The last one I used on my chocolate cupcakes, the second of the green. And then for just a little bit more color, I grab some of the sunset gold. And this one's a lot darker, so I just add touches. And these could even be painted on by wetting them a little bit too. So this is the winter white fall leaf. Okay. Then the other one is actually, I'm going to do the most complicated one first. We'll do that. Okay. So with this one, there's a whole bunch of colors in there. We're going to do, we're going to start out with, it's called Blue Russet. And the blue russet is in the corners, just here and there. You don't want to use too much of it, but this one is really rich. And then we're going to use Misty Lavender. And the kind of hard thing about the Pearl X is the first layer of Pearl X will stick to the clay, and then the additional layers won't stick as well. But if you lost some of the second or third color that's added after it's baked, you could also dip it in a brush and a little bit of water and then into the Pearl X again. And then after it dries, glaze it. So this one has some red and some blue. And sometimes you have to paint more on just because the corn flour is keeping it from sticking. Okay, So the other colors I'm going to use is Super Bronze. Let's see. So the Super Bronze helps with that real autumn changing of the leaves. And I dust that finally at the end with the macro pearl. So here's this one. This one's a little bit paler than they usually come out. When I glaze them, it does darken them up a bit, make it rich. And then the last one is actually the same as the chocolate colored one, where we have the Super Copper, Super Bronze, and Sparkle Gold. So, Super Bronze. Gets put on first, and then Super Copper, which is darker. I like to fill in some of the gaps that I didn't get with the Super Bronze, and then the Russet Gold I add on top. And like I say, if you want it to be richer and it's not sticking because of the corn starch, after baking you can come over. I'm going to put a little bit of Sparkle Gold on. And then I'm going to brush this with this. Get back some of the bronze that I just lost. And then add a little bit more of that crazy Super Copper that's so bright. As you can see, I'm getting my hands real messy. It's a lot easier to do this on the table instead of on your hand. So this is for the orange cupcake. And now we'll go through and show them each individually. So this is the first one that we did. Let's see if the camera focuses. So this is the first one that we did. Maybe I'll just show you the paper. So this is my collection. So the orange in the back is the same as this, just it's green undertone, and that's the translucent base. And then since the green one doesn't show very well, here's that. So that's how they are, and I think they would look great on fall wedding cakes, or they would also look good as the leaves on your pumpkins when we do the pumpkins. Thank you all for joining me, and the colors again that I used were Macro Pearl, Pearl X. We have Super Gold. Sorry, not Super Gold, it's Sparkle Gold. Sunset Gold. Super Bronze and Super Copper. And then we have Misty Lavender and Blue Russet. So all of these are our fall leaf colors. Thank you so much for joining me.